Hello, everyone. My name is Jane Gov. I'm the team librarian at Pasadena Public Library. And in this cooking lesson, we are going to make mac and cheese pizza.
So for the ingredients, you'll need 2.5 cups of bread flour plus a little bit more for kneading, 1 teaspoon sugar, about a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of salt plus a pinch of salt for pasta water, a pinch of oregano, 2 tablespoons of olive oil plus oil for brushing on the dough, 1 pack of active dry yeast, a 1/4 cup of pizza sauce, 1 roasted red pepper, you'll get more than that in a jar, 8 ounces of Velveeta, and half a box of elbow pasta.
So before we begin, please get a big pot, fill it up halfway, and boil the water. And this is for pasta. Also preheat your oven to 450 degrees, and then get out 2 large sheet pans. About, the size of a small pizza. And if you have anything like baking sheets, Silpats, or a baking or a nonstick baking mat, go ahead and use those. If you don't, get out some oil, and you're going to grease your pans with oil. And the way you do that is just sprinkle some oil on top, use your hands, and just, grease it all the way around. And I'll give you a few minutes to do that. Okay, I think because I could see most of you, it looks like you're ready to move on. So next step is we need heated water. So if you have a thermometer, that's great. If you don't, you can just do this method. We need 1 cup of water that's heated to about between 100 and 110 degrees. This is for the yeast. So if you don't have a thermometer around, what you're going to do, and I'm going to do this too, is I have a thermometer, but just to show you what we're doing here, is I am going to get half a cup of water, drinking water, if you have it. If not, you can use regular water. And I have a kettle here. You can put it in a pot, that's fine. And I'm gonna heat a half a cup of water. Once that's heated through, we are going to use another half a cup of cold water, and then you can just put them together. And that is almost always in between those temperatures. So I'll put it on the thermometer just to show you. So I'm gonna go ahead and get cold water. And share my camera here. Okay, so here's my half cup of cold water. This is straight out of the refrigerator. And this is my hot water that I'm pouring in. Again, half a cup. And what you're going to get from that is so that's my thermometer. And I just want to show you what it looks like here. Let me get the right one up. So this is 113 degrees. So what I'm going to do is wait about 5 to 10 minutes to let that drop below. But, we're not going to use this right away. And you can put your hand around it and you can feel it. It is going to be warmer than room temperature. And that's kind of what you want. The basics of this is that it just can't exceed 140 degrees. So you can still use it this way. This is perfect. If you have only room temperature water and not cold water, you'll wait about 10 minutes. So that's what I'm going to do here. It will probably go down to about 100 degrees, but that's fine. Anything between 100 and 110 is perfect. So I'm gonna leave that aside and move on. All right, next, we are going to take your peppers. And I already, this is the 3rd time I'm doing this recipe, so I've already used most of it. But the jar that you've received, you should have had, almost 2 entire peppers in there. Just take out 1. You don't need a huge amount. If you want to just eyeball it to about half of what's in the jar, that's all you'll need. So I'm going to take out, let me get a take out what's left in here, but you can, again, use what's about half of your jar. You don't need the liquid. So get your peppers out and you're just gonna roughly chop them. Just chop it sideways, it's fine. You don't need a perfect size or anything. We're just gonna, this is gonna go in a mac and cheese. All right, it's done. I'm going to just put it in a bowl. Next, if your water is at the right temperature, we are going to activate the yeast. So get out a large bowl. Okay, large bowl. Let me just get the right angle on this. Get your water. The water I have is exactly 105 degrees. What you're gonna do is get your sugar. And there should be a little cup that has white, that's, I can't remember exactly what we gave you. One is salt and one is sugar. We probably should have labeled them, but one of them is more coarse and that one is salt. The other one is sugar, and it's granulated sugar. If you are unsure, go ahead and taste it so you get the right one in. It's already pre-measured. It should be 1 teaspoon. So I'm looking just to make sure that I have everything right. What we're gonna do is sprinkle in. That's sugar. Just dissolving it. And then get your yeast. You just need 1 pack. Go ahead and open that and you're going to sprinkle it over the water. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to time this for 5 to 10 minutes. We'll wait 5 minutes and see what it looks like. What we're going to do is wait to see it get creamy. You could just whisk it a little bit to get it all mixed in there. And then just put it aside and wait until it gets creamy. All right, now we are going, if your water is boiling, I don't know if you've been keeping an eye on that. I'm gonna move this camera. Let's see if we could. All right, so there's your water. Now, if you have salt, not the one that we gave you, but extra salt. I just have my grinder. Go ahead and just salt the water for your pasta. You don't need too much. It's just for the pasta. Again, don't use the salt that we pre-measured for you. It's in that little cup. Just use some extra salt you have at home. Pour in half a box of pasta. Just half the box of it. And then stir and cook as directed on the box. The one that I have will be done in about 7 minutes. So I'm gonna set a timer for that. And then move on to the next step. At this point, we're waiting for our yeast to finish activating. So go ahead and get out a strainer for your pasta. When your pasta is done, you can go ahead and strain it immediately. And we'll wait until the yeast is activated. So my timer is running for the yeast, and it does look a bit creamy. Oh, let me see if I can bring that closer. I think it doesn't hurt to wait a couple more minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and wait another 4 minutes. You can wait 4 to 5 minutes, up until 10 minutes will do for that to sit a little bit longer. So my pasta is done. I've gone ahead and drained it, and then what I'm going to do is, let me switch what I'm doing. This will still be fine if you leave it longer, so I'm just going to move it and show you. Whoops, there's my dog. Right there. So I've just drained it. It's still really hot, and since it's still really hot, we are going to get out the Velveeta cheese, and you're going to use about half the amount that you have. You can use a butter knife, or really your fingers are fine too if your cheese is room temperature, and just put in chunks of it directly into the pasta. This is a really easy mac and cheese because we weren't able to distribute any fresh ingredients. You could, of course, use fresh cheese, but this is very easy and doesn't require refrigeration. So next, you're going to put in the bell peppers. I'm going to go ahead and give it a quick stir. It's not going to melt right away. We're just coating it with the hot pasta. Then, if you have a lid, go ahead and put a lid on that. If you don't, use a piece of foil. Okay. All right. Next, we're going to move on to the yeast. Okay, so your yeast is nice and fluffy. You can definitely tell by looking at it that it's different than when you started. We're gonna add the flour to this. You'll need 2.5 cups of flour. So what we gave you was about 3 cups. Go ahead and measure that out, 2.5. And you're gonna put it directly into the yeast. Go ahead and stir that a bit. 1 cup. Two cups. And half. Then you're going to add the 1 teaspoon of salt. That is, again, if you picked up ingredients, that's the small container with coarse salt in it. Salt. And then you're going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And you should have received that as well, and it should have been pre-measured in that slightly larger plastic cup. Then you can go ahead and mix this all together. I actually should use my hands at this point. All right. There's my dough. And it's not completely dry. It does hold its shape, but it's also not super sticky either. And the amount of liquid should have been the correct amount. Once you kneaded it all together, let me just do it one more time. There you go. We're gonna let it sit here and rest for about 5 to 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and do 10 minutes. I'm just gonna get a piece of plastic and cover it. So I'm just going to set my timer to approximately 10 minutes, and we'll see how this rises. We actually, I mean, you can wait longer if we had more time, but because I didn't want this lesson to run too long, if we were running short on time, I would actually just let it sit for about 5 minutes. That's enough. But since I think we're ahead of schedule, let's let it rest for 10 minutes. Okay, my timer has gone off, so it's been about 10 minutes since this dough has been resting. Again, if you only have, if you've let it rest only for 5 minutes, that's okay. You can let it rest longer if you want, but again with this lesson, since it's a short lesson, Just going to have it rest just a tad. So what I'm doing is I'm getting the extra flour and just sprinkling a little bit on top. And once you've let it rest for a while, the dough gets a little more sticky. So I'm just adding a little bit of flour underneath the dough. Okay. Get your rolling pin. Actually, you know, this baking, what is this thing that I have right here isn't going to be big enough to roll out the entire dough. So I'm going to cut it in half and work with just half of what I have here. And then I have my tray ready. I'm going to put it nearby. And then roll it out until it's about quarter of an inch. Obviously, the thicker it is, the longer it'll take to cook. Okay, hold on. Just a little sticky. Put a little more flour on it. I'm also going to coat my rolling pin with flour. Some of you may actually have a non-stick rolling pin, but if it starts to stick, you could go ahead and just add more flour to it. Now, I am not a pizza master, so this is going to look really homemade. I'm not even going to shape it. I don't know how to toss pizza dough. If you do, try it, but I am not going to try it because I think it'll fall all over the place if I do it. Yep. So that's about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to go ahead and move that to my tray. Onto my tray. Then I'm going to do the next one. All right, once you have your dough on your tray, we're going to get some olive oil. Okay, so then going to get your brush and just brush lightly on top. Then you're going to sprinkle some garlic powder onto, very lightly. We gave you probably more than enough. You're just going to use a pinch of it. Very, very lightly on top of the oil. That's enough. And do it to your second set of dough as well. All right, then we're gonna pop these in the oven and pre-bake for 10 minutes. I am getting my mac right there. And just giving it a stir. So the heat from the pasta should have melted most of your Velveeta. So just give it a quick stir, and really your pasta, your mac and cheese is pretty much done at this point. What we're doing is we're gonna wait for the dough to pre-bake, and then we're going to top this onto the dough. If your family has like a really great mac and cheese recipe, you can really use any mac and cheese to put on top of pizza. Again, we just did the very easy Velveeta mac and cheese because of the way we were able to distribute ingredients from the library. But you can use any mac and cheese recipe. So I'm just going to cover that a bit and wait for the pasta to be done. Or sorry, the dough to be done. Okay, my timer has gone off, so let me just show you what my dough looks like. So I don't know if you can see it. I'm trying to look at it right now. It's bubbling up a little bit in the middle. That's okay. I think this dough, it's a little bit brown on top. I am going to wait maybe another 3 minutes. So before I pull it out. But right now there isn't a lot of browning on it. Ouch, it's very hot. There isn't a lot of browning on it quite yet. We just don't want it burnt. So right now we're just waiting for it to be a little bit more brown. So I'm gonna wait another 3 minutes. If your dough looks browner than that, please pull it out of the oven. Because if you rolled out your dough a lot thinner than what I have there, it's going to cook faster. All right, so my timer has gone off and I pulled it out of the oven. This is what it looks like. I don't know if you can see all the little pockets, bit browning there, bit browning there. And then you'll see a little speckles. This is actually the garlic powder. Next, we're just going to get our pizza sauce and spread it onto your dough. You don't want to put too much because once you put your topping on there, it might slide off if you have too much sauce on it. And again, we provided you with an entire jar of pizza sauce, so you are going to have a lot left over. And then top it with some mac. Whoops. Just one layer. All your ingredients are pretty much cooked. The only thing we're doing now is just heating up the mac, heating up the sauce just a little bit more. It's probably already hot because of the pizza dough. And you're just finishing cooking your dough. This is my second dough. I'm gonna do the same thing. All right, unless you rolled out your dough super, super thin and you have a really large pizza, you are going to have mac left over, most likely. Okay, it's back in the oven, and I'm going to time it for 5 minutes, and then we're going to look at the crust to see if there is more browning. Again, we don't want it burnt, and we just want the crust to have a little bit more browning on the edges, so we know that the dough is cooked through. So I can show you what mine looks like in about 5 minutes. My timer has gone off and my pizza is done. So I don't know if you can see how close that is. A lot more brownie on the edges, and it's brown pretty much all throughout every edge of the pizza. And that's what we're looking for. So let me pull this out and I'll show you. I'm gonna try to show you what the bottom looks like without burning myself. So one moment. Let's see what this looks like. Move it off the edge a bit. So again, you could see it brown right there, and if you can, whoops, I don't think I'm angling it right. Whoops, too far. Right. I don't think, I'm not sure how close you can see that, but it's brown, it's golden brown. I'm trying to look for a different color so you can see it. This edge, I don't think so, sorry. At the middle there, it's a little whiter, but it is pretty much golden brown all the way throughout. So your pizza is done. Whether your pizza is done, or the crust, you could wait a couple more minutes and just let it brown just a tad more without burning it. That is again, if you rolled out your dough really, really thin, it might start to burn, and that's when it gets really, really golden brown. So I think that is pretty much there. If you have any other questions, let me know. The last step that we are going to do here is to put oregano on top of it. Anyways, you got a little container of oregano, and we're just going to sprinkle some on top of it. That's just a garnish. And that's it. Your pizza is done.